You won't believe what just shook the walls of the Senate chamber today, a showdown that went far beyond the usual partisan jabs. It was a fiery exchange that stunned the audience, set social media ablaze, and left political watchers speechless. Senator Elizabeth Warren, famed for her sharp wit and no-nonsense approach, launched a stinging verbal assault on Senator John Kennedy's educational background. Her jab wasn't just pointed, it was deeply personal. But what followed wasn't a mere rebuttal. It was a textbook example of poise, cleverness, and Southern charm that froze the room in its tracks. Silence fell across the Senate, social media went into overdrive, and by the time it was over, it was clear this wasn't just another heated debate. It was a moment destined for the history books. You won't want to miss a second of how John Kennedy turned an insult into a legacy-defining moment of brilliance. The day began like any other Senate hearing. Lawmakers, think tanks, and media personnel gathered in a formal hall to hash out the latest pressing matter, public education reform. As is typical, attendees anticipated probing inquiries, lively arguments, and politicians posturing for the ever-present cameras. But what unfolded exceeded all expectations. It evolved from a policy debate into a cultural flashpoint, a viral saga steeped in intellect, dignity, and the true essence of leadership. Senator Elizabeth Warren soon took center stage. Representing Massachusetts, she's well known for her intense debating style and impassioned oratory. Her speeches often marry populist energy with in-depth policy critique, commanding the spotlight wherever she goes. That day, she launched into a blistering attack on Republican education policy. Her tone sharp, her arguments cutting. She accused her colleagues across the aisle of putting politics before meaningful progress, of ignoring the fundamental issues plaguing the U.S. education system. She was fierce, focused, and clearly playing to the cameras. Then came the moment that changed everything. With a smirk curling at the edge of her lips and a dry laugh echoing through the chamber, Warren dropped a verbal grenade that stopped the room cold. Honestly, she said, eyes narrowing as she leaned toward the mic, it's difficult to take advice on education from someone who probably found their diploma in a cereal box. Her target was crystal clear, Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana. A few of Warren's allies chuckled, their laughter bouncing awkwardly in the silence that followed. But most in the room weren't laughing, they were stunned. Heads turned. Eyebrows raised. Some senators exchanged uncomfortable glances. Even in the bare-knuckle world of D.C. politics, this felt like a personal hit that went too far. All eyes turned to Kennedy. The camera cut to him sitting calmly at his desk, his expression unreadable. For a moment, the entire chamber held its breath. Would he fire back, let the insult pass? Kennedy, often mistaken for being overly folksy because of his southern accent and easygoing drawl, is no stranger to being underestimated. But those who truly know him are aware. Behind the down-home charm lies a razor-sharp intellect and unshakable self-assurance. And then, in the thick of the charged silence, Kennedy did something extraordinary. He didn't scowl. He didn't fumble. He simply paused. A deliberate, thoughtful pause. The kind that commands attention. The camera zoomed in as he turned his head slightly, eyes steady, a faint smile forming. You could feel the tension, the anticipation. Was he about to respond? And how? Then, with the confident tone of a seasoned speaker and the composed air of someone who knows exactly who he is, Kennedy leaned toward his microphone, inhaled, and delivered a reply that would echo far beyond Capitol Hill. What came out wasn't a rebuttal, it was a masterstroke. Calm, precise, and imbued with Southern dignity, Kennedy's response stopped the conversation cold and sent shockwaves through cyberspace. But before we get to that iconic moment, it's worth understanding who John Kennedy really is, because he's no caricature. John Neely Kennedy doesn't fit neatly into any box. Born in Centerville, Mississippi, and raised in the town of Zachary, Louisiana, Kennedy is unmistakably Southern. His voice, full of colorful idioms and plain-spoken charm, feels more at home on a front porch than in a marble hearing room. But don't let the accent fool you. Kennedy is one of the most academically accomplished senators in Washington. He graduated with honors from Vanderbilt University, one of the South's most esteemed colleges. He earned a law degree from the University of Virginia, a school known for its elite legal training. And he didn't stop there. He went on to study at the prestigious Oxford University in England, where he was mentored by Sir Rupert Cross, a legendary scholar in the field of law. That's not the kind of academic journey one falls into. It wasn't handed out with a bowl of cereal, contrary to Warren's quip. It was built on sweat, discipline, and relentless drive. What makes Kennedy unique isn't just his academic pedigree, it's his ability to straddle both the world of elite academia and the everyday concerns of regular Americans. Despite his refined education, he's never abandoned the values or language of the people he represents. His speeches often contain simple but powerful truths. That's what made Warren's remarks so misguided. Her jab didn't just diminish Kennedy, it demeaned the millions of Americans who, like him, are often judged based on how they speak rather than what they know. So when Kennedy rose to respond, it wasn't just personal, it was symbolic. His words weren't just a defense of his own record. They were a powerful statement about merit, grace, and real leadership. The chamber held its collective breath as he leaned into the mic. The atmosphere was heavy with anticipation. Would he retaliate with anger? Ignore this light? No. Kennedy did what few can. He took command of the moment with devastating calm. In his signature Southern cadence, slow and measured, he began. "Ma'am," he said respectfully but firmly, "I may sound like I'm from the backroads, but I didn't go to Oxford to take a picture, I went to learn." He paused, his words hanging in the air. "My degrees didn't come with a toy or a coupon, I earned them. Just like I earned the trust of the people I serve. And if you're finished tossing cheap shots, maybe we can get back to the issue that actually matters, making sure every child in America has access to quality education." The impact was immediate and undeniable. The tension in the room dissolved into quiet reverence. No yelling, no insults, just pure, controlled precision. Some senators shifted uncomfortably. Others nodded in silent approval. Even Warren's usual supporters looked down or away, knowing, perhaps, that the blow had missed its mark. But Kennedy wasn't done. He lifted his eyes and addressed the chamber once more. "Smart doesn't always come wrapped in fancy words," he said, each syllable measured. "Where you're from and how you speak shouldn't determine your worth. Intelligence is something you earn, and character is something you show." He leaned back in his seat, the room hushed, his point made. In less than a minute, he had diffused a personal insult, reinforced his credibility, and brought the conversation back to what mattered, the future of America's children. It was a moment of true leadership, a lesson in how to rise above pettiness and speak with purpose. A moment that resonated far beyond the walls of Congress, and the internet noticed. Within minutes, the exchange had gone viral. Clips of Kennedy's response flooded Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. Hashtags like hashtag Kennedy Clapback, hashtag Oxford Moment, and hashtag Senate Showdown exploded online. His reply completely eclipsed Warren's attack. Social media was awash with praise. "That was the cleanest takedown I've ever seen," one user posted. Another wrote, "Warren threw a punch, Kennedy dropped a bomb." A third simply said, "Don't ever judge a Southern drawl. This man just gave a TED talk on how to keep your cool under fire." Conservative commentators were quick to hail Kennedy as a hero, not just for standing his ground, but for representing everyone who's ever been judged for how they speak. Even moderates and some left-leaning voices admitted that Warren's dig had backfired, with one pundit noting, "She miscalculated, and paid for it." YouTube lit up with reaction videos. Channels uploaded the footage with epic music, slow-motion effects, and titles like "Watch This Before You Underestimate John Kennedy" and "Kennedy Ends Warren in 60 Seconds." Meme creators jumped in too, pairing his quotes with visuals of mic drops, knockout punches, and Oxford's grand libraries. But this wasn't just internet hype, it meant something more. Kennedy's words struck a chord with people who've been stereotyped, written off, or overlooked because of their accent, their roots, or their appearance. His line, "Smart doesn't always sound fancy," became a banner for the underestimated. In a time when politics often seems driven by outrage and division, Kennedy's reply offered a glimpse of a different kind of leadership, one built on poise, values, and conviction, not insults. He didn't shout, he didn't demean. He elevated the discussion, and reminded everyone what true intelligence looks like: calm, deliberate, and purposeful. This wasn't just a win for John Kennedy. It was a victory for every person who's ever been told they weren't enough because of where they came from. A moment that reminded us, dignity always rises. And real leaders don't need to tear others down to stand tall. If this moment meant something to you, share it. Let's keep the conversation going. Because in a world that often prizes noise, Kennedy showed us the quiet strength that truly inspires. Have you ever been judged for how you speak or where you're from? Drop your story in the comments, and let's celebrate the power of speaking with purpose.